everyone. We are... Well, I am Alex.
And I am Ben.
And we are married with dragons. I went a bit too fast forward there.
Doesn't sound like you.
No, not at all.
Yeah, thanks for tuning. I was going to say...
going well.
It's off to a flyer. I was going to say joining, then I started to say tuning, so I said thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Episode 19.
Yeah.
Nearly hitting that 20 mark.
Yeah, getting up there. Got a bit of an intense story for tonight, and then we're going to be doing a bit more of a chilled stream.
Yeah, chill chat.
Chill chat. Talking about some D&D and some personal experiences and
what ifs, maybe?
What ifs, yeah. Which should be a bit of fun. And then, as always, we have the joke at the end, so make sure you stick around for that.
Yes.
That's the highlight of every stream.
Yes.
But yeah, to get us started, we've got a bit of a story from... Is it still it's still the most recent session I've actually had. I didn't have any D&D last weekend. No,
we didn't.
I didn't, and I was shattered. I didn't know. It didn't feel right. So from the most recent session though, when you guys actually encountered your first ever dragon,
which was super exciting because, obviously with Dungeons and Dragons, you immediately think you're going to be running into dragons all the time.
It's right there in the name.
So
with dungeons, you're not surprised if you go into dungeons like.
What is this, my third campaign?
Yeah.
Third campaign, first dragon.
Yeah, I mean they are higher level enemies. They obviously can be quite dangerous. So obviously you got to get when you're playing in a campaign, get to a point where it's not insta death by finding a dragon. Also, they don't always fit into all campaign settings. So surprisingly enough, actually looking through some information from people out there, it seems like most people actually either haven't run or haven't encountered a dragon in D&D. Surprisingly enough,
it's not as common as you think.
Yeah, apparently. Well, this is the first time I had neither encountered nor run as a dungeon master a dragon before this. What was broken up to a couple sessions actually, but it was certainly a fun experience. Definitely for a dungeon master as well, getting to play with some of the big toys in the sense of the dragon is good fun as well. But
it's always fun as a player because, dragons. It's just they're like an iconic mythical creature, so it's just fun and awesome to, I guess, experience it. Yeah, that's the word.
It was a white dragon, and it sort of ended up being broken up into two parts because you guys were on this giant flying castle, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe there was much of a plan. You were sort of just roaming.
Yeah, well, it's just... The castle was like a maze, so I guess we just kind of stumbled across it. We weren't... Yeah, I think we just entered a room and there it was.
Well, yeah, I actually asked a few of the players afterwards. Apparently none of you were expecting the dragon. It was a bit of a surprise. It was in my head. I'm like, it's a bit of a lairish sort of area. Maybe it makes sense. But yeah, caught you all off guard. And you guys were literally just wandering around the area and you happened to stumble into this big chamber full of treasure and this big dragon. And I think there was a few people. That's where we finished the session and then left it. And I think there were a few nervous people.
Yeah, well, I guess... Well, I mean, with our party, we weren't full health, so I think if you ever go into a big encounter, you
certainly weren't anticipating a big boss fight. Put it that way.
Yeah.
There was some spell slots missing, and it was. But it led to a really interesting encounter with you guys, managing to hold out for a couple of rounds, and then things went very sour very quickly.
We almost had a TPK.
I was going to say, out of the 5 of you, I think 3 of you went down in the same round.
Yeah, I think it was the first or second round. It was very early.
A few of those breath attacks came out and started knocking you guys around pretty quick. And you guys did a great... It was great for me, though, as a dungeon master, to watch you guys sort of try and deal with the situation and think outside of this a straight combat box. And there was a few... You guys sort of dragging each other into safety and trying to rescue each other and heal each other and basically just try and survive. It became less about the actual fight itself and killing the dragon and more just about surviving the encounter with it. You know what I mean? And it was interesting because you don't always get those encounters aren't as common, obviously, as the fight to the death sort of encounters. So it was really fun for me to watch.
Yeah.
And I'm sure terrifying for you to play.
Yeah, well, mentioned before, 3 of us went down in the first or second round.
Within the first couple of rounds, yeah.
My character was one of them, so yeah, I found it quite like, oh, all right, time to write a new character.
And I will put this out there as well. I was not pulling any punches. You guys got yourselves into that situation. I was giving everything I had to the party, and there was a few times that it was very, very close to a death, but you guys managed to get through it, which was awesome. And so that was basically part one, was you guys getting kicked around, battered and bruised, and basically shown what's what by this dragon. And then part two was basically you guys actually came back the next day, formulated a bit more of a plan, were a bit more prepared, you were ready this time, and you still nearly died.
Yeah. Which was great.
It was, you did manage to slay the dragon though, which is fantastic.
And got like access to all of the treasure.
All of the loot ever.
All of the loot.
But I must admit, like, in the first part of the encounter, I was like, if you guys had have died, I would have like felt a little bit bad because you weren't anticipating the dragon, you weren't expecting that to be there. But with the second time, like, no, you guys know it's there this time. Like, I'm not going to feel bad if you die. If you die, like, you know, too bad. Like, but no, it was close. It was certainly very close. But you guys did manage to prevail and come out on top in one of the more epic fights, I guess you could say. You've
out of this campaign, definitely.
Yeah.
Like, the encounters have been cool in this campaign, but obviously dragon top.
Yeah, pretty up there. It was good fun to run as well. It's one of those, for a dungeon master, it's one of those creatures that is not very difficult to run. There's not a huge list of spells and stuff you got to keep track of, but it's fun, it's interesting, it's badass. So it was certainly a lot of fun from my end as well. I'm glad you guys succeeded. There was a moment where I think it was 3 HP difference for insta-killing one of the party members, the wizard, of course. So I was a bit sort of sweating for that poor bastard. But, you know, everyone got through, and you guys have more trouble to face next time now due to that. But yeah, that's our D&D story for tonight, which actually sort of leads quite well into a question that I was actually hoping to ask you in our chit chat.
Yes.
Most, I suppose this is a sort of a two-part, so two separate questions. The most badass or most fun or most exciting combat you've ever been in? Or been a part of?
I think...
Not necessarily the hardest.
I think it kind of goes with being one of the hardest, just because I think it had the most dimension to it. It wasn't just like taking turns hitting each other in a way. But I'm gonna have to say my favorite would be Strahd, because he could. I don't know. I can't remember if he just did dimension door everywhere or if he just teleport.
He can move through walls. Yeah.
He just like, you know, would just leave and then come back and then leave, and he would kind of like go all over the place. And it was like, I feel like that one probably would have to be the most fun, because you really had to use strategy for that, and it was very different. Yeah. Then, because you didn't know what to expect with Strahd. Yeah. With other, like, let's say frost giants or like a dragon, I mean, you don't really know what to expect with a dragon, but you just don't assume they're going to maybe move over here or fly.
Yeah, there's a bit more straightforward.
Yeah, a bit straightforward. But I think Strahd would have to be in my favourite.
And is that also your most difficult, do you think? Or what would be your most difficult encounter thus far?
Most difficult would have to be...
Tough question.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think.
Depends what character you're playing at the time as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think. I'm definitely thinking nothing with my barbarian, because I was...
you were too tanky.
I was so strong for that.
In fairness, Sararak did give you a bit of a run for your money.
I think one of the hardest... I feel like it would have been in Tomb of Annihilation. I can't remember exactly what we're up against, but no, actually yes, in Tomb of Annihilation. The Froghemoth.
Oh yeah, that bad boy. Yeah, where you got eaten,
and it's like I found that to be hard because on the inside I felt like I wasn't doing much but getting poisoned. So I think, from the circumstances that I was in, that was probably the hardest.
Yeah, I wouldn't have picked that. That's interesting. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, for sure.
What about yours?
Alright, my most exciting or badass combats, I've actually got two. One where I was a DM and one where I was a player. Yeah. For me, in the Curse of Strahd campaign you referenced earlier, when we ended up fighting essentially a giant house, like a giant hut that came alive. Yeah. One of the reasons I loved that combat, I think it was so badass, is because, as you said before, there were a lot of layers to it. There was this witch person flying around the outside, hovering around this big skull. The house itself was attacking us. I nearly died like so quickly in this fight. Like the house would whack me around like, oh, there's over half my health gone. But like to resolve it, like the way we took the house down, you had to like, it wasn't just straightforward attacking. You had to sort of, I think we ended up breaking in and opening it up and destroying the heart or the gem. And it was an interesting sort of workaround in the combat. It wasn't just straight, let's attack until the hit points run down.
Yeah.
So that was certainly a pretty badass, and I wasn't expecting that at all, that combat either. That certainly took me by surprise. And then another one, as the DM, for the DM one, for me, is definitely when I had you guys all face an invisible beholder. I thought that was a pretty
about that one.
Cool, fun combat for a couple reasons. Like one, it's not just a beholder, but it's also an invisible beholder.
So you can't see it.
That created a whole new layer of complexity and difficulty that you guys had to overcome because you couldn't just normally attack it.
Yeah.
Not only was the beholder invisible, the floor that you guys were standing on was difficult terrain. It was glass and slippery, and so you guys had to be very careful with your movements. For me, like that combat was just really there was a lot of things going on, and again, it wasn't just a straight like obviously you had to reduce the hit points to 0 to kill the beholder, but there was a lot of other things going on in the combat as well, which sort of I feel at least for me as a DM and hopefully for you as the players added some layers to it.
It was definitely frustrating.
Yeah,
it was a frustrating part. I can't believe I forgot about it, but yeah, now that you reminded me, I can remember it being quite frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, it probably would have been, because there was a lot of things so obviously it was difficult terrain, the beholder was invisible, you were playing the barbarians, it was quite difficult for you to actually get up to the beholder as well. There was a lot of things against you, I guess, in that fight.
Yeah.
But again, you guys managed to win and overcome it, and there was no fatalities, so,
And that's a win for
well
us.
played. As far as the most difficult encounter I've been a part of, so most difficult, I would probably have to go from a player's point of view.
Yeah.
I think the most difficult encounter I've been a part of has probably been quite actually close with the house that I described before. That was probably one of the more difficult encounters I've had. But also there was one where we were fighting these stone. I can't remember. They weren't gargoyles, but they were these big winged creatures.
Yeah.
And my character had very, very little to no damage over distances, and so that combat was quite difficult for me. It was a difficult combat because we were sort of on this very tight, closed off balcony thing, so there wasn't much room to move around. Obviously, I wasn't able to use my usual attacks because they were flying around, all making it quite difficult to get to. So that was the combat where I did my infamous 1 damage critical hit. Because I used the bow that I can't remember what, I think it was a short bow that I had, which I wasn't very good with.
Yeah.
Rolled the 2 1s and it was resistant to the damage. It didn't go very well at all. Critical hit to 1 damage. I was like, but yeah, that was quite a difficult encounter. It was still very fun, but yeah, certainly very difficult for the character I was playing at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty good. Was that? I don't think I was there for that one.
You weren't. Yeah. That was one where I was filling it. I was controlling your character that one as well. And you got the killing blow.
Of course I did.
But
I wasn't even there.
I got the killing blow as you.
Yes.
But yeah, that campaign had a lot of interesting combats for sure.
Now, another question. What is your next character idea? Horson.
All right. Horson. So I'm gonna go with next character because next character idea I have so many.
Okay, so next character you're going to play.
So many character ideas. I think of character ideas all the time. Every day I'm constantly thinking of new character ideas because it's super fun for me. But the next character I'm keen to play, which will be a little bit different for me as well, is I've never played a cleric before, so I'm going to be playing a cleric. But I'm not playing the quote-unquote stock standard healer type cleric.
Yeah.
Obviously, we might have some healing capabilities, but I'm going to be playing a forge domain cleric as a warforged or a forgekin race. So very much, metallic robot-esque sort of style character. Still with, magic users, the cleric's magic abilities, but like I said, not so much like based around the healing aspect of the cleric build, more around very much defensive capabilities. Obviously some offense in there as well, but more around, buffs and defense and that sort of style of character, which I'm pretty keen because I haven't played too many tanky characters before, to be honest. I've played mostly, whether it be damage dealing or sometimes melee, but not necessarily very hardy, stocky characters. So it'll be fun for me to play, mix it up a little bit. I've got plenty of character concepts, but actually getting the chance to play them is another thing. So I'm pretty excited about that, to be honest. It'll be something a little bit different for me.
I've never really heard of a forge. What is it? A forge?
Warforged basically is what it's referred to. Basically, they're robots of the D&D world. They don't even need to breathe or anything. They're still alive, but they're a very different sort of like they're constructed. And so like I said, it's going to be a little bit different, but I'm pretty keen to play a tanky character, to be honest. I'm pretty keen to be able to take some hits, and I don't really care too much for that character about doing much damage. That's not what I'm really worried about. It's more around as far as combat goes, that tanky, hardy, very difficult to knock down sort of character. And then the roleplay aspect of this character, which I'm going to have a lot of fun with as well, it is going to be very, very socially clueless. I'm thinking sort of, very down the line in the sense of like the Ray Holt from Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy. Very honest, straightforward, says exactly what's on their mind, gets them into a little bit of trouble, doesn't pick up on a lot of sarcasm or emotion and stuff like that. And so I'm pretty keen to have a bit of fun with the role play aspect,
especially like with that kind of that kind of personality, like the Drax personality.
Like I feel like it'll have a lot of funny moments, but I think it also gives the character a lot of room for growth as well, which is what I'm really keen for, because it's likely that the campaign is going to be quite a long. It's looking to be a homebrew. It's quite a long campaign, so I'm really keen to have a character idea that I can build on and can see character growth over the length of the campaign as well. So I'm very, very, very excited about that.
Very nice.
What about you? What's your next character idea?
Well, this one's still a bit up in the air, like what I want to do.
Because you've got a few that you've been in your mind as well.
Yeah, it's just kind of like I've got a few that I want to play, like ideas. It's just where to implement them in what campaign and where they're best fit. But with the next campaign that's coming up, I think I'm settled on playing a rogue, which I haven't played before. And so I think a halfling rogue is going to be fun, but more like a rogue assassin. So I'm thinking a more real broody kind of character, going off your Guardians of the Galaxy reference, kind of like Rocket, but not so outspoken. So like not so in your face,
not so extroverted.
Not so extroverted and just extra.
Over the top.
Yeah, not so over the top. Kind of more broody, manipulative, self-centered and selfish, but also like not the type of. I'm not planning on making a character that's going to be, so self-centered to the point where, more not like a lone wolf. Be able to, play with others as long as there's personal gain or it's reaching a goal. Like, just not a very nice character, but
it's really important though what you said, that like making sure that you can still work with others, because I've heard so many horror stories of players that will make this character concept of this lone wolf that hates working with others, that doesn't get along with anyone. And it makes it impossible to play the game, because it's like, well, the core concept of D&D, you've got to play with the group of people. You've got to have a reason to be, working with the group. So it's good that you're identifying that sort of stuff as well as, hey, I don't want to go down that extreme line.
I'm not going to be buddy with my party, but like I will help and I will, collaborate. Collaborate. But it's more of I'm doing it for selfish reasons, not because I want to help. It's because if I don't help, I'm not going to get where I want to be. It's kind of like I don't care less for these people as long as I get what I want at the end.
Yeah.
I'll use them.
Yeah.
So that kind of mindset. But yeah. So yeah, I'll work with my group. I just won't be working with my group out of being nice.
Fair enough.
Or friendly.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so I've never played a really like would you say a negative character?
Oh, negative might not be. Maybe more a less altruistic character, a character who's more around their own, puts themselves first. I think normally you're playing the not necessarily lawful good, but the more good characters that are putting other people first, and you know, the warm and fuzzies.
Yeah, so this one's going to be opposite. So I'm going to be more of a broody,
bit of an edgelord,
edgy character that's just all about herself.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and that'll be. It's always. I mean, that's again one of the best parts about D&D is being able to play it in different ways every time you play as well. So it'll be good to see how you tackle that side of the role play aspect as well. I think
I can try to do that. I can play introvert because I am an introvert. So I feel like this is something that I am gonna try really hard to role play because I would be more comfortable role playing someone introverted than extrovert, because it's
more in your wheelhouse.
It's more in my wheelhouse because I know how if I try and be extroverted, I sound so sarcastic and it sounds like I'm taking the piss when I'm really like.
I think that's happened before while I was DMing. I think you like tried to be extroverted and like I thought you were taking the piss out of me.
Yes.
I was like, oh,
do you know how like this is just off track, just a little thing. When people get excited and I want to get excited for them, it's the people that are like, you don't need to be so sarcastic. I'm like, I'm not.
Just who I am.
It's just who I am. Me excited is very monotone.
Oh dear, that's great. All right, now I've got a big question for you now.
Yeah.
I've got a few locked and loaded already, but there's a big one, and it's okay if you can't think of anything straight away. But best or favourite moment in D&D so far?
Best or favourite moment in D&D?
Okay, big question because there's so many.
Yes. Best and favourite.
Best or favourite? Like best is a bit of a weird, like, you know, best moment, but like one of your top moments in Dungeons and Dragons so far.
Oh, God. I don't know. Because I'm thinking like one campaign, I'm like, nothing from there.
Well, I've got two. One of them from the campaign that you're thinking of, and I think you'll probably agree with me as
maybe.
well. So I'll start with that one, which I think you could probably relate with. One of my favourite moments in D&D was when I was DM, I was Dungeon Mastering, and you guys were in a temple underground. And you were sneaking through this temple underground, and things went sideways really, really quickly. You were basically, long story short, you were invisible, then you weren't invisible, and it ended up with you slapping a dinosaur on the ass.
Yes!
You climbed into a pen, there were guards everywhere, you slapped the dinosaur on the ass, became visible again, the dinosaurs charged out, leaving you in the open, and your immediate response to this was to dive into a massive pile of dinosaur poo, like in Jurassic. Because I can remember you asked, I didn't think about this as a DM, but you were asking like, you know, is there piles of poo around? And I'm looking at you like, sure, like, why, you weirdo? And you're like, I want to jump in one. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is excellent. This is just what and you jumped in and you had to do like constitution checks to make sure you didn't throw up, and you managed to hide from the guards. And I think that session ended up with later on 2 people got killed because you guys were found. You didn't die. You did a good job of surviving, but 2 other players died because they got found and killed. And it was
just on that, because you remind me, I think that also one of my favourite moments from that campaign is the dinosaur races. They were at the very beginning, and they were actually a lot of fun.
I'm glad you enjoyed that. That, as a Dungeon Master, I was pretty excited to run it, but it was also one of those things where it's like running it, like, I don't know how it's going to go. Like, it's not really like, you know, core D&D mechanics. It's more just like imagination, and, you know, you get into it, and I wasn't sure how it would go, but it was a good time.
Yeah.
Did you win that race?
I did.
Yeah. That's why it's your favourite.
Yeah, but also because another character tried to cheat.
That's right, and you won anyway.
I caught them out, or I retaliated.
Yeah, that's right. And there was a bit of conflict right at the beginning of that campaign.
Yes, that was fun.
But my other favourite moment, again, actually, I'm gonna have to pick one from when I was a player as well. But this is also from when I was DMing.
Yeah.
It was actually in the first campaign I ever ran. And I think it's just one of those fond memories because I think back to like the early days of D&D. But it was funny. The party was at the top of this tower, and I think the player just wanted to kill their character because they wanted to play a different character.
Yeah.
But they didn't tell me this, and they're like, and I'm like, all right, so you guys going to go down the base of the tower, and there were stairs. You could have climbed down the tower the same way you got up. But this one player, it was like 300 feet in the air. This one player's like, no. I want to build a parachute. I'm like, oh, okay, like sure. And then how do you make the rolls? That you got use like the big leaves from the palm trees and stuff. How do you make the rolls? You made this parachute, rolled really well, and jumped off the building, rolled really well to control it. And the rest of the party is sitting at the top of this tower, like, why are you risking? And like he was doing it. It was awesome. He managed to accomplish the feat, and then I'm rolling for the wind to see how much wind there's going to be, and there's this massive gust of wind, and I describe you as this player's character just goes sailing off into the distance, landing somewhere amongst the trees, and the rest of the party is sitting on the top of this tower like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Like, why?
What is happening?
Yeah. And then, like, I think in between sessions, the player was like, do you mind if I just play a different character? I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Like, it's going to be a big adventure for you to try and find the party again. But yeah, that was certainly a bit of an out there moment in D&D for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I suppose for the player, easy short one, me as a player, one of my favourite moments, two of my favourite moments as a player, definitely getting the critical hit that dealt 1 damage.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then with the same character that everyone made fun of and constantly died or went down all the time, winning the battle royale with the character that everyone made fun of.
Yeah. I wasn't there for, your 2 favourite moments are moments I weren't there for.
Maybe I should start playing more D&D without you. Maybe that's the key factor. I can't believe you weren't there for either of those.
Well,
hey, do you have a life outside D&D?
I have a life.
D&D is the life.
No, I think it's time.
For the joke?
For the joke.
All right.
Do you have it down, Pat?
I do. This is very rare for me, though. I would like to preface this by saying they're always great. This one is probably less great.
Oh, so it might actually be really good.
It's not one of my favourites, but I shouldn't undersell it. All right.
Okay.
How many wizards does it take to change a light bulb?
How many?
It depends what you want to change it into.
Oh.
Oh my god. I feel like you only made that noise to break the silence.
I'm sorry, it wasn't funny.
I could just see you sitting there looking at me. Come on, that wasn't bad. Out
of all the jokes you have said,
it depends what they want to change it into.
This probably had to be the worst.
You say that every week.
No, but sometimes I don't. Oh, that was funny. That one was just awkward.
Whatever. Whoosh, over the head.
Oh, I didn't get it really. I was sitting here like,
yeah, that's why I didn't laugh. It was a great joke. It just went over the head.
But I just don't get it.
Depends what they want to change it into.
Like, is that
like wizard spellcaster?
Oh,
come on!
Like polymorph.
Well, on that high note, thank you all for tuning in for tonight's episode with Married with Dragons. It was good fun having a bit of a yarn with you tonight.
Yes. It's always fun to have a little chill chat. It's actually been a nice chill chat.
Yeah.
Maybe do more of these.
Yeah, might have to give it a go.
Yes.
Yeah, but we'll certainly be back. Same time, same place next week. Thursday, 8 o'clock.
Yes, 8 o'clock. I was just, in my head, I'm like, does daylight saving start sometime soon? So
does it?
It does, actually. So I don't know if that time.
I'm not aware. We'll be on at some point Thursday next week. Tune in just all the time to Game on Orbs, and then you won't miss us.
Yes. Alright, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time, guys.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for watching the show. Have you clicked the subscribe button yet? Have you given us a thumbs up and maybe commented on the video too? Have you done that yet? Have you done it? Oh, cheers. Oh, cheers. Thanks.